Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke, but I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
Good morning. It's Natural Born Redhead, better known as Joanne. And I'm here this morning with a new producer, Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Joanne. How you doing?
I'm well. And I'm here with Will Person. Will reached out to me several weeks ago, wanted to come on and talk about CTE. Good morning, Will. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Good to hear. I want to sort of build up to your diagnosis of CTE, but for the purposes of, for your edification, just can you explain what that stands for and how it came about, and then we'll go back to go forward?
Okay. Just so we're clear, like part of my condition is if you give me more than like one question at a time, I'll probably answer only half of one of them.
Okay.
So if you keep it really short, because it's the last glitch I kind of have with this condition.
Okay.
And so let's try again.
All right. Please describe what CTE stands for.
Well, some days I can say the word and some days I can't.
Gotcha.
But I think it's traumatic encephalopathy. Oh, so today's a good day. So yes.
Chronic.
That's actually really how I test myself, is being able to say certain words in the mornings. Are you giving myself a simple math problem in my head that I can solve? If it has to have two steps to it, if I can't solve it, I know that I'm struggling that day, and not to like do anything important like sign contracts or make big decisions. Don't buy a car, Yeah.
Well, thank you for setting me straight, and continue to do so. And Tim, I'll depend on you to help keep me straight so I can keep Will going smoothly. Absolutely. Here. So chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Did I say it correctly?
You said it perfectly.
All right. Well, I'm not going to say it again. As a result of saying it, for both of us, it's officially CTE.
Yeah.
So you approached me and you wanted to talk about that. You were an Olympic bobsledder, and as a result of bobsledding through 2 Olympic seasons, you were then diagnosed with CTE.
Well, let me be clear about that. Actually, the only way to officially diagnose this thing is you have to die. You have to dissect your brain.
I was going to say, okay. Yes, I remember you saying that. So without getting ahead of ourselves, it was based on your symptoms then that you were experiencing?
Well, if you go to the New York Times article, Sledhead, it outlined many of my teammates who were sick, many, from Parkinson's, depression, strokes, seizures, suicides, and numerous suicide attempts. So it's really, you have to look for this thing. You have to look at the peers around you. For example, if you look at the NFL players, you're watching those guys, one by one commit suicide. It's all the same stuff.
Gotcha.
And even bigger than that, if you look at our military, there's 6,400 suicides reported every year for our veterans. But what they don't tell you, there's an additional 5,000 that overdose. And even if they leave a suicide note, they don't consider it an overdose. So we're looking at 11 to 12, 13,000 veteran suicides every year. All the same stuff.
Yeah.
And because now, they used to get the PTSD umbrella label. But now that they're doing studies and they're checking their brain upon death, they're finding CTE is the underlying issue that was there.
And I really, really, really want to get into that. But I also really enjoyed when we talked privately, you talking about your background. So to keep this easier for both of us, let's sort of do it sequentially. Can you tell me where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri.
And
I'm a Midwest kid.
then talk about your athletic achievements and what led you to Utah, please.
Yeah, I was a track and field athlete, and when you leave high school in America, if you want to keep running track, your only option is to go to college. I didn't want to go to college, but sports, it took me there, and which is such a blessing. Yeah, so track, yeah, it was track and field.
For 4 years at Utah.
No, I did 2 years at a junior college in California,
Okay.
and I committed to UC Berkeley, and I wound up having busted my knee at this conference championship race, meet long jumping in the rain, uh, and only school left would still gamble on me was Weber State, so I lost my scholarship to UC Berkeley, and yeah, that's what brought me to Utah. I did 2 years at Weber State University, and that was that.
Got you. And I know you told me at one of those college experiences, you got an accolade as the fastest American.
Oh no, I wish I had it because if that was the case, I would have been on the Summer Olympic track and field team. That was my dream, but I never made that national team. But in Stockton, they used to call me the fastest man in Stockton, and I had that label in a few different places. But I take pride in that. But no, I was never the fastest guy. Matter of fact, some of those guys were naturally so much faster than me. Those guys were at home sleep, and I was still out training just to catch up with those guys. So it took a lot of work for me to catch the pack.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
My notes are a couple weeks old, so please continue to correct me.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
So that was something your friends called you as a result of your experiences in track and field.
Yeah, them, my friends, really usually the media. It's media kind of do stuff like that. Matter of fact, growing up as a kid, I was Bill. I was never Will. The media slowly changed my name to Will, and it stuck. Yeah.
Gotcha. I didn't even contemplate that when I asked you if you were Will or William.
I never met a Will before until the media did it, and eventually people were calling me Will, and next thing I know, oh, I like it.
So you spoke to me, and if you're comfortable, I would like you to speak to the things you shared, and I don't want to rely on your memory. So if it's a topic, even though we discussed, if you're not comfortable here, just do what's comfortable. You had spoke to me between. Remind me where you were born. Was it Missouri?
Yeah, St. Louis. Yeah.
St. Louis, Missouri. California, Utah, you had different experiences with racism. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
Well, I grew up in a neighborhood. Do you remember the story about Mike Brown in St. Louis in the Ferguson riots? It was 2012ish. There was riots because of a police officer shot a kid. Yeah, and then in St. Louis, there were tons of riots. That young man actually went to the high school I graduated from. And so where I grew up at, it's like there's a bunch of little towns, and you have to drive through St. Louis. There's a little county here, a little county there, and you have to drive through them. And as you drive through them, the police will always be sitting there to pull you over. And so it causes a lot of tension between the black community and the white community. Like Obama had an investigation done after Mike Brown's incident. And if you could actually Google it, I think there was an average of 3 warrants per household, and that was all from traffic tickets. And and so what they were doing is, fleecing the public for money. And so now that they changed the laws over there, they're only allowed to collect a certain amount of money, and the rest they have to donate or give back. So now you actually can now speed if you want to, and they don't even mess with you. But back then, you can be 5 under the limit and still get pulled over. And sometime I got pulled over and I never got a ticket. I don't know what they wanted. It was before the drug boom or epidemic. And so to this day, I really have no idea, what they really wanted. And so when I left high school, I moved to California. And so my routine is this: when you see a white man who you don't know, you keep him in your peripherals until until he's out of sight. And then, and then, you're safe, then you can relax. And so when I moved to California, I did exactly as I've always done my whole life. And I remember one day I was talking to my teammates and I told them that, I said, something in my life is missing and I couldn't figure it out. And it was Christmas time. And so it used to take me 36 hours to drive back to St. Louis on my breaks. And so it took me 36 hours.
36 on your bricks? On your...
Oh, 36-hour driving. 36 hours to drive.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it took me 36 hours to drive to St. Louis like normal. And when I got there, I was there for 4 hours and the police pulled me over. And I went, oh my goodness.
That's what's missing.
That's who's not in my life anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't have police presence. And so I immediately had epiphanies. I was like, oh my God, that means all of the white men that I kept my eye on in California didn't even know I existed. And I put all that energy toward these people, trying to avoid them or, just protect myself. And so I was like Paul Revere telling everybody, hey, not all white people are racist. And nobody believed me. It was like, what are you talking? Oh, you're crazy. And but the sad part is it took for me to leave the Midwest to realize not all white men were racist, but my ex-girlfriend was on the German Olympic team. And we lived together for like 4 years. And so I spent a lot of time with the German Olympic team. I traveled with them. I ate with them. And, we all stayed together. And the truth is, it took for me to leave America to understand what it felt like to be treated as a human being. Mm. And that was kind of my experience with racism here.
What was it like when you got to Utah?
Utah, the life in Utah, the racism there is different. They love me. I'm an athlete. I was a business owner. I created a treatment facility. I owned one for youth in the community. I had a 9-bedroom inpatient facility, and they treat me good over there as long as I'm not trying to, come home and marry their daughters, and that's kind of how that really, really worked. They love you. They want you to come visit, but you better not be dating my daughter. So it's kind of like that. That's my experience in Utah. But overall, the people were pretty nice, but it's always a kind of that uncomfortable feeling. And it's not everybody. I don't want to put that blanket over everybody, but that was my experience. But I have friends there who actually married, had interracial marriages. So, and yeah, it's just kind of what it is. It's a changing of the tide, I believe. Yeah.
And that was like, you're 55, correct?
Absolutely.
So we're talking 30 years ago, or just about 30, 35 years ago.
Yeah, I left Utah in 2007. Yeah.
Oh, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were there into your 30s.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Got it. I'm a numbers person. They have to work.
I have grandchildren there.
Oh, my gosh.
There.
Oh,
yeah,
my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Congratulations.
2 daughters and a grandchild there. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So I'm making an assumption, but so you were in Utah. You get out of college. I think you said the magic age when you were approached about bobsledding. I think you were 28, or am I wrong there?
Yeah, it's 28, yeah.
And you had said that you had, done your track and field and you still wanted to compete. How did it come about that you found out you're in Utah and you find out about bobsledding? How did that come about?
Well, I was the fastest American in the state of Utah. Oh, that's probably what
That's
you meant earlier. Yeah, here we go.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, I was the fastest American in the state of Utah at the time. And, most sprinters are really tiny guys, but I'm a 6'1". At that time, I was probably like 184 pounds, 178.
Wow.
But eventually, as I made the national team, eventually I packed on a lot of muscle, and my frame changed to like 218 or something like that too. Yeah. So, but yeah, doing when I was there, people were calling me. I think it was my business partner who actually approached me and told me about this tryout. And my phone, it came from a few different directions. People were calling me. And I really didn't want to do it, but it was my last year probably competing in track and field. I knew that career was winding down. And next thing I know, I went for this tryout, and out of all the people there, I set a new record. It was hosted by a TV show called NBC, called Go for the Gold. And so with all these cameras on me and these hot lights, this guy offered me $50,000 to race on his team for the next 3 months. And that's how I understood it. And I gave him an educated answer. I was like, sure. But I said, if it's a fair price. But in the back of my mind, I was like, 50 grand. I'm just counting that money. I was like, I couldn't wait to do it. But I quickly found out he didn't have the money. And so I did the tryout on a Wednesday. Some of the bigger teams were in town. They saw me at the track. I wound up racing with those guys, and I won a medal, international race in the America's Cup within, I believe 7 days of starting the sport. And so NBC ran that story. And it was something new, fresh, and I always wanted to represent my country at the national level, Olympic level. And I failed it doing that in track and field. So it was kind of like checking that bucket list and, kind of getting that pressure off my back. Because I competed from the time I was 11. And I retired at 36, turned 37 that summer. So imagine you want to be an Olympic athlete and you compete all that time and you never get to represent your country. It was a horrible feeling. And so it was a blessing for me at that time. So I thought.
Curiosity, when you went to the tryout, was it the 2-man sled?
No, what they did, it was inside of a building. They had a treadmill. They took that treadmill and there were bobsled handles attached to it. So I had to hold this. I'm on a treadmill and I have to hold these handles like I'm pushing a bobsled. And then I had a computer connected to this treadmill. And so they automatically punch in 10 miles an hour. And the quicker and more pressure I apply to this treadmill, the quicker I get to 10 miles an hour.
Okay.
And so that's how they determined, that's how they tested us for the original testing. And then on that Sunday, I went to the bobsled track and pushed the sled for the first time, hopped in and took my first ride down. And that was that.
And was that
9 years later?
Was that the 2-man or was that?
That was 2-man. I started in 2-man the first week. But in my first race, I was in a 4-man. Yeah, my first race was a 4-man medal.
Is it a lot different? 2 versus 4?
Yeah, 2 is very simple. It's like, you got 2 guys running and jumping to get in. And I'm not sure if you saw that clip of the bobsled team that's been in the media lately. Those guys were pushing over in St. Marie, Switzerland, racing. And 3 of them fell off the back of the sled. And that was about a week ago. And so it's you have to coordinate 4 guys running, hopping in the sled, getting in before you hit that first turn. And sometimes there's chaos. And if you fall off that sled, you have to walk back past that crowd. We call it the walk of shame. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Plus it hurts. That ice is hard. And it's people crack ribs and, more concussions and falling on ice after you've been running as fast as you can is brutal.
Just because I usually dial into the Winter Olympics. There are some bobsledding competition coming up in February.
Yes.
Was it 1, 2, and 4 man sleds?
Yes. When I was competing, there was no 1-man sled. There was a mono sled. That was never a thing. That's brand new.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a. I think that's only for the female, the ladies.
Okay.
They do the mono and they do a 2-man, and then the men we do 2-man and 4-man.
Got it. Wow, interesting. Huh. Okay, so how are we doing on time, Tim? Because I can't tell.
You're at 19 minutes.
Okay, so we've got about 10 more minutes here, Will, and I'm trying to think how to. I need to think for a second. So, you are now. You're 28 years old. You're selected to compete. Take me to how long it was until your first Olympics, from the time you started at 28.
Well, that would have been 2 years later, but I want to make sure that it's clear. I had there was some other issues up there at when I first started the sport. When my first time going to Lake Placid to the Olympic Training Center, I was approached by a gentleman who worked there, and he told me, "Hey, Will, just so you know, it's the good old boy system here, but it's getting better." And I didn't believe him because, like I told you earlier, I was already traveling with the German team, and they treated me like family in Germany. So how could there be racism and on the American team? And so I really didn't believe this guy. But every time the Olympics time comes around, what they do is they try to pre-select people who look like them. So matter of fact, in 2010, they ranked all the top 16 athletes in the country. The black athletes at that time, I wasn't there that year. They finished 5th, 6th, and 8th. They took everybody on tour that year except 5th, 6th, and 8th. And this is public record, guys. You guys can find it. And for me, I pushed Stephen Holcomb. That was my driver. He's the driver who won every Olympic medal for America since 2003. I pushed him in the World Championships. And so for the next season, it's time for me to go to camp. So I called into the coaches, and they said, "We're not funding you." So I talked to Stephen. By the way, Stephen, he took his life at the Olympic Training Center in 2018.
Oh,
really nice guy.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
You did not share that.
Yeah. That's one of the ones. If we're gonna tell the truth, let me tell the truth. He says, "Will, no worries. I have a suite up here in Canada. You can stay with me. You were my brakeman in the World Championships. No worries, I got you." So I fund myself. I go to Canada. I pick up my own tab. And in the World Championships that year, we all won Verizon team phones. So we all had the same phone number except one digit off.
So
when
can I ask you a question? So
absolutely.
Did Steve or Steven get to pick you as his brakeman because he was selected?
No, coaches will select.
Okay.
Will select. Yeah, coaches usually do the selection. And really, they didn't want me on the World Championship team that year. I saw the writing on the wall, but I was 2/10 faster than everyone else at that time, so they didn't really have a huge choice.
You were what? You were
2/10. My job was to get that sled moving fast.
You were 2/10. Okay. You gained the sled 2/10. Got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in Canada. I'm training with everybody. No big deal. So another driver comes to me. He says, "Well, Coach Tuffy told me to let you know the federation is coming to Canada. They're going to move us to a new hotel. And when they do, you will not have a place to stay." He said, "I don't know why he's telling me to tell you this." So I took my team phone and I called him. And coach didn't answer. I called a couple more times, no answer. A few days later, that guy comes to me with the same statement. He said, "I'm uncomfortable. I don't know why he's telling me to do this." So I called the coach from my phone again. He didn't answer. And then when I called him from the other guy's phone, he picks up on the first ring. And I was like, "Hey, Tuffy, what's going on?" He said, "Well, each driver gets one funded athlete." And I said, "Tuffy, I've been here for some weeks now. I know the truth. Is that the story you're sticking to?" So he got a little bit quiet, and he says, "Well, I'll see what I can do." And so a few weeks go by. The federation comes to Canada. They move us to a new hotel. They give me a room. I have a brand new roommate. I recognize that guy. He was the track janitor the year before. He was the one cleaning the track off and sleds, and he made the ice smooth. And I asked him, I said, "Was your ticket to come up here, was it expensive?" Because I'm thinking he didn't get funded either because he's not a national team athlete. And he told me the craziest story. He said he went to the first training camp and he finished dead last. He said he also got injured. So he was laying around at the Olympic Training Center, and Coach Tuffy came up to him and asked him, he said, "Would you like to go to Canada? I'm paying for it." He said, "Hell, what have I got to lose?" And so those are the situations I dealt with, the racism up there. And then at the very next Olympic year, I get to Canada. I pay for myself once again. I pushed the sled the first 2 days. I'm the number one. I had the number one times for the first 2 days. And the coaches are writing my times in the book. The strength coach, his name was Stu. He writes all the information, put them in the books. After the first day of me being good, no problem. Second day was fast, no problem. Day number 3, he Stu pulls me to the side. He says, Will, Tuffy told me that you can't push the national team anymore because, and I said, well, why not? And he said, well, because you didn't have any international races last year because you had a car accident. And so you didn't have any international races. And I asked him, I said, is that the only reason? And he says, yes. I said, oh, okay, well, go back and check your records. I came back after the accident and I had 10, at least 10. But what they did is they still kicked me out. And he says, no worries. They know how well you're pushing. I said, I know they do. That's why you guys are kicking me out. And so those are the experiences I had. And it gets even a little bit worse. Matter of fact, they wouldn't let me push with any of the top teams that were going to the Olympics. And so there was a young man named Mike Bradley. He was like a teenager. He grew up in Lake Placid, and he knew that bobsled track better than any driver, probably the top 2 drivers in the country. But they were young kids. And so, but he wasn't strong enough to compete at the push. So he was going to, not be very good. So what I did is I teamed up with him and I pushed him much faster than he's ever been pushed. We beat all the Olympic teams to the bottom of that hill and they actually canceled the race. Yeah. And they moved it to a new track in Salt Lake City. They said the track was too frosty. And so, that's my experience with the U.S. Olympic bobsled team. And so
at that point, were you the only black man competing for the U.S.?
On some years I was, and some years I was not. There usually be maybe a sprinkle of us in there, but they usually run us off pretty good, quick, because they won't fund us, and so we don't have money.
Do you want to say why? I mean, do you want to say why you think? I know what I think. Do you want to? Do you know? Well, are we going to go there, or would you rather not?
Oh, we can go. But when I left the sport, I never spoke about it. I just left the sport. But the truth is matter of fact, they were audited in 2022 by an outside agency. I can share that information with you in the paperwork. Someone told me, some of the white athletes who saw what they did to me, they called me and asked me if I had seen the paperwork floating around. I said no. So I read it, and it actually mentions in there the good old boy system. It's in writing. And 6 months ago, I received an updated, they did an updated to the audit, and it still mentions the good old boy system. So it's still there. It's still a problem. And I thought I was going to change the sport. And for me, like, I was going around speaking in high schools and things like that. And I met a lot of the kids and elderly black people who told me, I didn't know we can do things like this. I didn't know we can be on the Winter Olympic team. And so I had announced my retirement originally after the World Championships in 2003. And what I realized, I inspired a lot of people to go there and want to be athletes with the Winter Olympic team. And so I figured that I better stick around a little bit. I didn't want them to deal with the racism I dealt with. So I thought I was going to change the culture. I said, I'll stick around, I'll fix it, then I'll leave. And I left there, and so I'm kicking myself. If I had left when I planned on it, I wouldn't have these brain issues right now. But I was really trying to fix it for everybody, and it backfired on me. It backfired. I have to own that one. I have to live with that. Yeah.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the Bouncing Balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.